Everyone knows AI can save time and make you more money. But the question is, where do you start? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to find the highest value area in your business to start with AI, and even show you a few ways to actually implement it. AI is everywhere right now. There are new tools launching daily, startups raising millions just by saying we're implementing AI, and it feels like if you're not, you're already behind. But here's the reality. Most businesses talking about AI aren't actually doing anything meaningful with it. It's become a buzzword. And because of that, most owners think it's either too complicated or that they have to overhaul everything at once. But here's the truth that no one tells you. You don't need to know all the tools. You don't need to automate everything. You just need to start with one process that matters most, something simple, repeatable, and high impact. Think about when you're learning math. Everyone made it sound like you needed to know calculus, geometry, trigonometry, I can't even pronounce it, the full spectrum. But in reality, unless you're designing bridges, you only need to know the basics. Algebra. You use it every day without even realizing it, calculating costs, comparing prices, or managing time. AI works the same way. You don't need to build complex algorithms. You just need to understand the algebra of your business, your core workflows, and apply AI to those first. Once the foundation is solid, the more advanced stuff naturally builds on top. So here's a simple way to start. This is the exact same process I use when consulting businesses who know they need AI, but they feel stuck. So the first thing we're going to want to do is a brain dump. So you start by getting everything out of your head and onto a whiteboard or even a Miro board. Create 4 columns. You want your strengths, which is kind of what's working well, your pain points, what takes up a lot of time, what's losing us money, the future state, what could be better, where could we be making more money, where could we automate, and then your wish list, what would be amazing. Then you start dumping everything you could think of, what's working, what's not, what takes up time, what could be better, and what would be amazing if it existed. Then we're going to want to score it. So we take your pain points, your opportunities, and you score them. You score them based on your time spent per week, impact on the business if it was solved, and the ease of automation. So basically, how many hours does this consume? Are we losing money to this? The impact on the business. What would happen if this was solved? Would we be saving a lot of hours? Would we be getting more deals, making more money? And then the ease of automation. How easy would this be to implement it? You'll start to see the 80-20 rule, the few areas that, if fixed, free up massive time or drive real revenue. Then lastly, we're going to want to take action. Don't overthink it. Start with one small win, even something like automating client follow-ups or lead responses. That one improvement can compound fast, and it usually is enough to show you what's possible. And not even just by showing you what's possible, but it also builds momentum for the next steps. So let's look at this more visually. So this is the 4-quadrant board that I was just talking about. So you're going to want to put this on a whiteboard or a Miro board or, whatever works for you, and use sticky notes or, anything that can make this visual and actually be able to see and brain dump. So the first thing is going to be the strengths. The purpose of this is to identify what's already working well. These are processes that AI should support, not necessarily replace. So some example prompts you could give yourself to kind of, get the brain moving is, what systems or processes already work smoothly? Where do we consistently deliver results? And which parts of our business generate the most revenue or customer satisfaction? The next one you're going to look at is the pain points. So highlight bottlenecks, inefficiencies, and repetitive tasks. These are prime for AI. So some example prompts could be, what tasks drain the most time weekly? Where do mistakes or miscommunication happen often? And what's frustrating your team right now? Where's taking up a ton of time? And then the next one would be future state. So describe what the business should look like after automation. If we could automate any 3 processes, what would they be? And what does your ideal day look like when repetitive work is handled? And what new capabilities would you love to have? Would you love to be able to have more client meetings, spend more time with your team on, high impact areas, et cetera, et cetera. And then the wish list, capture big visionary ideas, the dream automations. This keeps clients inspired and gives you long-term roadmap items. What could be amazing if it were possible? What platforms would we have? If AI could handle anything, what would you want off your plate, especially right now? So that's what the 4-quadrant board looks like. Now let's take a look at the matrix I was talking about, the scoring matrix. So you want to create a table that looks something like this. And I'm going to give you this template without these examples in it so you can start from scratch. So you're going to want some column headers, and those are going to be the task or process, the time spent weekly, the impact on the business, the ease of automation. And based on that, you're going to give it a total score. So I have some examples in here. So responding to new leads, let's say this takes 8 hours every week, and this has a high impact on the business, and this would be really easy to implement. That total score would be 9. Then you have another one that maybe that's manually updating reports, and that takes you 4 hours a week, And the impact on the business is medium. This would be nice to have. And the ease of automation, this is a medium. This is not the easiest to implement, but it's not the hardest. So that would give a total score of 6. And then following up with clients, you spend 6 hours a week doing this manually, and the impact on the business would be really high, but this would be a little bit harder to implement. This total score is a little bit higher. It's a 7 because this impact on the business would be super high, but it's a relatively hard thing to implement. So go through and do this exercise yourself. Have your 4-quadrant board and your scoring matrix and kind of see what you're able to come up with. We're going to go through an actual example of doing this for a company, and you're going to see me doing this in real time. And then from there, you should have a better idea of how to do this for yourself. Okay, so in this example, let's say we run a small construction company. And let's go ahead and redo this entire quadrant board and the scoring matrix for this. So let's first identify our strengths. So let's, say the small construction company, we get 10 to 20 inquiries per week from website and ads. So let's go through and give some strengths, some pain points, a future state, and a wish list. So strengths, let's go ahead and start with, let's say our word of mouth referrals are really strong. So word of mouth referrals are strong. So we deliver, exceptional projects, and because of that, we get good referrals. Now let's think some of our pain points. So let's say we're getting, a fair amount of inquiries per week, but, we're missing a lot of calls and we have really slow follow-ups after hours, which is causing us to lose a lot of leads. So, missed calls and slow follow-ups after hours. So those are our main pain points because, these people are calling, we're not able to get back to them very fast. And after hours, say someone inquires on like a Saturday night for a project, it kind of takes us a little bit longer to get back to them. So our future state would be to automate these lead responses and scheduling. So it'd be really cool if we're not missing calls, and whenever someone inquires about something or a project, they get responses within minutes. So if they inquire on a Saturday night, 2 or 3 minutes later, we get back to them like, "Hey, thanks for inquiring. What can we talk about?" So that would be really cool. And the wish list would be maybe a 24/7 phone answering. And, with that is also respond to inquiries within minutes, even after hours. So, this would be really cool. So anytime someone calls, whether it's a Saturday night or, Monday afternoon when we're on a project, if we could have something or someone handling every single phone call and we don't miss a single phone call, and when someone inquires on a Saturday night, maybe they fill out a form, they get respond to within minutes, even if it's after hours. So that would be really cool. This is a very basic example. You're going to want to add some more details, but this is what a 4-quadrant board could look like for a small construction company receiving 10 to 20 inquiries per week from websites and ads. So now let's go through and actually do the scoring matrix. So let's go ahead and start with the missed calls and follow-ups after hours. So missed calls. So time spent weekly is a little bit harder, but going in and tracking every single one of these down, talking to them on the phone, let's just say it takes us 7 hours per week. And the impact on the business is pretty high just because, we're losing leads to missed calls, and maybe they're calling another business. Say they call us and we don't answer, they're just going to call the next person that they see on the list. The ease of automation would be medium. We have to implement a phone agent of some sort, or put something in place that answers every single call and knows our business processes. So this total score, I'm going to give it an 8, just because 7 hours per week to automate that would be pretty significant. That is 28 hours per month at least, and it has a really high impact on the business. These could be deals worth of $15,000 to $50,000. Arbitrage numbers here. The next one would be inquiries after hours. Don't mind my spelling. So the time spent per week, again, this is kind of a tough one to measure, but let's just say 8 hours per week. And, we get all these inquiries and they come in on like a Saturday night. We don't see them till Monday morning, but we're already swamped. So it's really hard for us to get back to them, et cetera, et cetera. So the impact on this business would also be pretty high. And the ease of automation, I think this one would be like a easy to medium. So let's give this total score a 9. So putting something in place where that someone inquiries on a Friday afternoon or even like a Tuesday during business hours or whatever it may be by filling out a form, we could get back to them in minutes now, maybe not like weeks. So that would be really high impact because that could provide us, again, a way better close rate on these deals that we're potentially missing by not getting back to these people for so long. So this is what the scoring matrix will look like for this example. So, we went through and we did this 4-quadrant board. This process usually takes you a little bit longer, maybe, 15 to 30 minutes up to like a few hours. And this process will take you, a little bit shorter, but it's really understanding that impact. So after going through your quadrant board and your scoring matrix, the next step is to pick a starting point. And based on our quadrant and our matrix, I would say the starting point would be an AI phone agent or an AI SMS assistant. So basically something that automatically answers missed calls, qualifies leads, and books jobs directly in the calendar. So, when we're getting these calls or follow-ups on the weekends, we're not missing it. So, the main deliverables and objectives is to never miss a lead. So, respond 24/7, even after hours. Save hours weekly. So you're not going to be needing to do all this manual follow-up, phone calls, whatever it may be. When someone submits a form, you don't need to actually go through, look at the details, et cetera, et cetera. And, one of the main ones with this is more revenue. So we're converting more leads to jobs because we're responding to them right away. If we're missing their calls or inquiry, they're probably just going to look at the next available construction or, contracting company that could do what they're looking for. So by really getting on top of this, we're able to convert more revenue. Okay, so now that we've mapped out our processes and identified where to start, that's our first win. So what would the next step be? And the next step on that process would be start. You start small and you go from there. So, if you want to see this built, let me know. I will be releasing some other videos on phone agents and AI SMS assistants. But the main purpose of this video was to kind of understand where to start with AI in your business. So you can download the template that I use in this video. This is a really simple, easy to use template that will help you get started on your process. This process doesn't have to be overwhelming. If you want help on this journey, I work with tons of companies on bringing AI into their business and can help you create your roadmap and even building your automations and AI agents. Check out my site, Smartway AI, which is linked below. Thanks for watching and feel free to leave feedback below or ways you have gone about this process.